What if the next seismic move is less about chasing headlines and more about two front offices staring at a whiteboard and admitting the obvious? Our timelines don't match. Unless we trade with each other right now. You can feel it in the margins agents hedging in interviews, coaches praising versatility with that extra beat, players posting cryptic gym clips at midnight. The kind of static that shows up a few days before something serious moves. Lakers fans, Warriors fans, every scout in the league, keep your seatbelt fastened, because the scenario we're about to unpack touches role, identity, money, and legacy all at once. Here's what we're going to do together. Map the basketball logic, the cap math, and the locker room ripple effects. Test the fit on both sides in real rotations, not fantasy lineups. Weigh what this would mean in May against Denver and Minnesota. And put real pressure on the question that matters. Are you maximizing LeBron and AD's window or trying to retool on the fly? No spoilers yet, but by the time we're done, you'll know exactly where you stand and why. You're watching Lakers News Fan Report if you live for clear, grounded breakdowns that treat you like the smartest fan in the room. Tap subscribe, drop a like so more Laker faithful find this, and ring the bell. We go deep, we talk ball, and we keep it honest. Let's set the table. The Lakers have two parallel needs that keep colliding. A wing with real two-way upside who can run with pace, absorb tough matchups, and finish at the rim. And enough ball handling and half-court organization to avoid putting a playoff-sized boulder on. LeBron shoulders every fourth quarter from October to April. That is not a contradiction. It's the modern West dot across the bay. The Warriors are trying to keep a championship identity alive while recalibrating the pieces around Stephen Curry. They need a secondary initiator who can punish tilted defenses, live in the paint when teams top-lock Steph, and still toggle into off-ball spacing and connected passing. They also need reliability, someone whose baseline doesn't wobble when the game slows down and whistles tighten. Now zoom out to market dynamics. When a young forward's contract talks stall, the league pays attention. When a team that depends on star shot creation looks around and sees 2 months of cold spells baked into the calendar, they pay attention too. Add in escalating second apron penalties, and you get a landscape where good players move not because they're unwanted, but because the puzzle pieces line up better somewhere else. Basketball fit, not just name power, drives this conversation. For Los Angeles, a downhill athlete who can guard up a position, attack second side closeouts, and put pressure on the rim would redraw half their sets, and unlock different versions of Anthony Davis as a screener and short roll passer. For Golden State, a tough guard who can handle, draw contact, and read early tags would settle their second unit and give Curry a co-pilot who thrives in advantage situations. Here's the last thing before we open the envelope. Depth charts lie in October. What matters is your 8-man trust circle in May. The best front offices act before the bracket announces their weaknesses to the world. With that in mind, let's put the cards on the table. The scenario on the board is a Lakers-Warriors swap built around Austin Reeves and Jonathan Kumin Godot start with why Los Angeles would even pick up the phone. The allure is obvious. Athletic wing size, real on-ball juice, and age upside. When you picture the spring version of this team at its best, you see someone who runs the floor with pace, finishes through contact, and can credibly take the opponent's primary wing for stretches, so LeBron and AD can play cleaner minutes. You also see a runway someone who could be a bridge from the LeBron era into whatever comes next, rather than a short-term patch. But it's not just youth upside good. It's scheme. Imagine sets where LeBron initiates from the left slot, Davis pins on the weak side, and that incoming wing lifts from the corner into a dribble handoff, rejects it, and barrels downhill. The closeout is late, the help arrives high, and Davis gets a lob or a pocket pass in the middle of the floor. That's pressure you can feel. Defensively, switch and peel coverages look cleaner when one of your forwards can absorb first contact without surrendering the angle. In series against Oklahoma City and Minnesota, that matters. The cost? You're giving up a guard who does 5 different things at a B-plus level on most nights and when he's rolling, secondary creation, pick-and-roll pacing, foul drawing, connective passing, and end-game composure. You're also ripping up comfort. The chemistry with LeBron is real. The trust from the coaching staff is banked, and there's value in knowing exactly who you are in a fourth quarter at home. The front office has to ask, are you trading a known closing time problem solver for a bet on ceiling that may take months to cash? Flip it to Golden State. The argument writes itself. You shelter Steph from some of the grind. Get another handler who thrives in chaos and contact, and restore balance to a rotation that too often asks him to be both engine and parachute. Picture Reeves snaking a pick and roll as Curry lifts weak side. The low man has to tag. The skip pass is live. And if the defense stays honest, you're burying mid-range pull-ups and living at the line. On nights when Curry sits, you don't fall off a cliff. That alone can swing 4 to 6 regular season games. There's also the cultural match. Golden State values guards who read the second beat of a play, who can keep the ball moving without surrendering leverage. Reeves' game scales. He can be the first domino or the fourth. He doesn't need 20 shots to matter, but he can carry 20 possessions if the offense is choking. That's not just a luxury. It's a stabilizer for a team that wants to close with 5 players who can dribble, pass, and shoot mechanically. It gets tricky, but not impossible. One side is on a mid-tier guard number that provides short-term flexibility. The other side deals with the realities of a rising young forward who will command a larger number as his role grows. Depending on how any sign-and-trade or qualifying offer pass are structured, you might need draft sweeteners, protections, or a small contract to balance. None of that is fatal. It just demands clarity about windows and tax lines, especially for 2 teams that flirt with the punitive tiers every summer. Let's talk rotations, because theory without minutes is a mirage. For the Lakers, the incoming forward slots next to LeBron and AD without collateral damage to spacing if you're intentional with guard choices. You can go big in the regular season, run and punish second units. In the playoffs, you trim to a cleaner 8 and live in a switch-heavy base that feeds into Davis rim protection. The bet is that your closing 5 gets longer, faster, and more violent at the rim, even if you surrender some craft at the point of attack. For the Warriors, the incoming guard immediately eats innings as a lead handler on bench-heavy units and toggles to a connector alongside Curry. You stagger so that one of Curry or Reeves is always on the floor, which shores up the lows that have haunted them the last 2 seasons. When it's winning time, you can play 3-guard or 2-guard looks depending on the opponent, and still retain enough defense to survive because of your front court IQ. Risk belongs in this conversation. For Los Angeles, you risk trading day-to-day dependability for variance. If the Wings jumper bottoms out for a month, can you live with the spacing squeeze? If the handle doesn't tighten by April, are you creating a new late-game problem? For Golden State, you risk locking in money on a guard who may need the ball in ways that bump into Curry's rhythm. If that overlap turns into redundancy, you're paying a premium for diminishing returns. And then there's identity. The Lakers have built a fan connection around a guard who bleeds for the jersey, who took a role and grew it in the spotlight without blinking. Moving him would require a crystal-clear message about vision, not just value. The Warriors, likewise, have told their base for 2 years that growing a young wing into a centerpiece is part of the plan. Shipping him out means you pivot from that promise toward maximizing what's left of a legendary run. Both stories are coherent. Only one can be told. Let's put this against the West. Denver punishes mistakes with Jokic's brain. Minnesota chokes air with their size. Oklahoma City scrambles your reads with length and speed. If you're the Lakers, betting on more downhill violence and switchable length is a real counter. If you're the Warriors, adding a guard who forces honest tag decisions and gets you into the bonus by the 9-minute mark of the quarter is also a real counter. The series math makes sense either way. The question is where you carry more risk. What about the price beyond players? If the forward's next deal lands near upper starter money, the team acquiring him needs to be comfortable with that number living on the books during LeBron's seasons. If the guard's next negotiation creeps higher, Golden State needs to understand how that collides with their apron posture and what that means for depth. Picks, swaps, protections, expect them to be discussed. But if this is truly built around these two names, the headline pieces remain the same. Timing matters. Early season versions of both teams are experiments. Midseason is when the bracket starts whispering truth. The window to act without panic is narrow. Pull it off early, and you buy reps, language, and trust. Wait until February, and you're gambling on chemistry at speed. There's also a human thing we never talk about enough: role acceptance. On the Lakers side, the incoming forward must be ready to screen more, cut more, and star in his role on nights when LeBron and AD control the ball. On the Warriors side, the incoming guard must toggle between alpha and glue without sulking when shots don't fall. Both players have shown versions of that, but a new jersey turns tests into exams. If this happens, what are the closing fives? For Los Angeles, a blend of size and pace where LeBron and AD flank a springy forward, plus two shooters, handlers who keep the weak side honest. For Golden State, Curry and the incoming guard driving the plane, wings who can space and cut, a big who organizes the defense. You can see it. You can also see the alternative. Both teams pass, stick to their guns, and try to solve the same May questions with internal growth and minor moves. Now, clarity. As of this moment, there is no official agreement announced by either organization. What we're doing is pressure testing a real basketball idea that's been discussed around the league, a high-level framework that would require contract path, picks, and timing to line up. Call it a thought experiment with teeth rooted in needs, not click stop so where do I land? If Los Angeles can structure it without overpaying in additional draft capital, and the staff commits to a year of development on the wing teaching, not just demanding I understand the bet, but my lean today is to hold the line unless the second side assets tilt your way. Reeves' blend of shot creation, foul pressure, and fourth quarter nerve fits too cleanly with LeBron and AD to trade lightly. That's my view, and it's speculation. Your turn. Would you make this deal if you were Rob Pelinka? Or do you ride with what you built? Drop your take below, because the smartest conversation in Laker Nation is right here.